My name is Chioma Innocent, and here are the top stories. Trump orders U.S. withdrawal from 66 international organizations. Armed men kill 5 people in Benue State. Rivers Assembly begins impeachment proceedings against Governor Fubara. And ICPC continues probe of former NMDPRA chief rejects Dangote's petition withdrawal. Details now. Thank you for staying tuned. The world news at 12 begins with the United States announcing its withdrawal from 66 international organizations, including key United Nations agencies and climate-focused bodies, a decision that has sparked global concern over its implications for climate action, development, peace building, and multilateral cooperation. Donald Trump signed an executive order on Wednesday suspending U.S. participation and support for dozens of international organizations, many of them operating under the United Nations system. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio defended the move, stating that the Trump administration considered the affected institutions redundant in their scope, mismanaged, unnecessary, wasteful, poorly run, captured by the interest of actors advancing their own agendas, or a threat to the U.S. sovereignty, freedoms, and general prosperity. The directive orders all executive departments and agencies to cease participating in and funding 35 non-UN organizations and 31 United Nations entities, which the administration says operate contrary to U.S. national interests, security, economic prosperity, or sovereignty. The move follows an extensive review initiated earlier in the year, examining all international intergovernmental organizations, conventions, and treaties that the United States is a member of or a party to, or that the U.S. funds or supports. The White House said the withdrawals are intended to end American taxpayer funding for institutions that it argues prioritize global agendas over U.S. needs. In a very tragic development back home in Nigeria, gunmen suspected to be herdsmen launched another attack on the Udeku Mavia community in Mbakyol Council Ward, Turan district of Kwande local government area, Benue State, killing 5 people. According to local sources, the attack occurred on Tuesday evening while residents were still harvesting yams and bambara nuts from their farms. According to one of the locals who simply identified as Turner, the attack disrupted activities in the community. The chairman of Kwande local government area, Teswa Yakwan, confirmed the killings. He said the attackers did not immediately withdraw after the assault, which he said caused tension in the area. Yakwan, who described the area as a vulnerable border area that shares an international boundary with Cameroon, lamented that the terrain complicated security operations. He said that the continued attacks during harvest season threatened food security. Also confirming the incident, a former supervisory councillor in the local government, Akariwa Lawrence, decried the constant assault on the community. He stated that residents of the community constantly face sustained attacks and destruction of crops, homes, and economic trees, as well as restricted access to water sources. In Lagos, the Commissioner of Basic and Secondary Education, Jamiu Ali Balogun, has urged school authorities to strictly adhere to approved public health guidelines and safety protocols as schools resume for the second term on January 12. Mr. Ali Balogun gave the charge on Wednesday in a statement. He disclosed that government officials had been assigned and deployed across the state to inspect schools and ensure compliance with established safety standards. The commissioner commended teachers, parents, and guardians for their cooperation and support toward the smooth running of the education sector in the state. He said that the resumption applied to all public and private primary and secondary schools, as well as government technical colleges operating within Lagos. All schools are expected to commence academic and administrative activities immediately upon resumption. The commissioner also reiterated the state government support, saying that it remains committed to providing a safe and conducive learning environment for pupils and students. In a very recent development, the political landscape in Rivers State took another turn today when members of the Rivers State House of Assembly began impeachment proceedings against Governor Simonalayi Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu. They are accusing them of gross misconduct. During plenary presided over by the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Martin Zameule, the majority leader Major Jack read out the notice of allegations and gross misconduct against Governor Fubara. Relying on Section 188 of the Nigerian Constitution, Major Jack reeled out 7 points of alleged gross misconduct against the governor. Some of the accusations include the demolition of the Assembly complex, extra budgetary spending, withholding funds meant for the Assembly Service Commission, and a refusal to obey the Supreme Court on the financial autonomy of the House. Let's now take a listen to the Rivers State plenary that went on this morning, whereby they are discussing the impeachment of the state governor, Sim Fubara, and his deputy, Ngozi Odu.
Gross misconduct 5. Seizure of salaries, allowances, as well as funds standing to the credit of the legitimate Rivers State House of Assembly, contrary to Section 1213 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, and other extant laws.
Go to 6, please.
Gross misconduct 6. Seizure of salary of the clerk of Rivers State House of Assembly, Mr. Emeka Amadi. Gross misconduct 7. Refusal to implement provisions of the Constitution on financial autonomy of the Rivers State House of Assembly and the Rivers State Judiciary. 8. Withholding of funds meant for the running of Rivers State House of Assembly Service Commission and for stating a commission set up by Part 2AA of the 1999 Constitution as amended.
Conclusion.
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, we conclude by stating that the governor has shown that he is not required to govern Rivers State in line with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, and his oath of office. The Supreme Court, in suit number SC/CV/1174/2004, condemned his actions when he stated that the 8th respondent fear of impeachment by the Rivers State House of Assembly is no justification for his attack on the House of Assembly. The Constitution, the government of Rivers State, and the rule of law. Political disagreement cannot justify this attack and contempt for the rule of law by the governor of Rivers State or any person. What the 8th respondent has done is to destroy the government because of fear of being impeached. Mr. Speaker, this document is signed by the underlisted members of Rivers State House of Assembly, dated the 5th day of January.
In the meantime, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has declared that it will continue investigating a corruption petition filed by Alhaji Aliko Dangote against Engineer Farouk Ahmed, the immediate past authority chief executive of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA. Dangote earlier withdrew the petition he filed with the ICPC against the former NMDPRA boss, but the anti-graft agency insists that its investigation will continue. The ICPC disclosed this in a press statement confirming that it received a letter notifying it of the withdrawal. The agency said Dangote's lawyers explained that the decision was taken on the grounds that another law enforcement agency had taken over investigations into the allegations contained in the petition. However, in a press release on Wednesday by its spokesperson and head of media and public communications, Okor Ode, the anti-corruption agency confirmed receipt of the withdrawal letter but stressed that the investigation would not be halted. According to the commission, once a petition alleging corruption is received and the investigation has commenced, the process cannot be terminated at the discretion of the petitioner, particularly where issues of public interest and alleged abuse of office are involved. The ICPC firmly rejected any suggestion that the withdrawal of the petition would stop its probe. In Zamfara State, the government has raised alarm over the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawale's alleged use of the office of the National Security Advisor to intimidate opposition figures within the state. In a press statement issued on Wednesday by Suleiman Bala Idris, spokesperson for the Zamfara State Governor, the state government accused the Minister of State for Defense of using the NSA's office to target opposition members, describing the alleged action as a dangerous abuse of power and a threat to democratic norms. According to the statement, Salim Abubakar, a technical assistant in the office of the Zamfara State Governor, was allegedly abducted in Abuja on Monday by operatives described as Special Forces units linked to the office of the National Security Advisor. The Zamfara State government claimed that the operatives acted without an arrest warrant and took Abubakar to an unknown location, later moving him between different facilities in what it alleged was an attempt to conceal his whereabouts. The Zamfara State government warned that such action set a perilous precedent and called on Nigerians to condemn what it described as the politicization of national security institutions. It further urged President Bola Tinubu to intervene by calling the office of the National Security Advisor to order, warning that the alleged action could damage Nigeria's democratic credentials and international reputation. The government maintained that if there were any allegations against Abubakar, due process should be followed by charging him in a court of law rather than subjecting him to what it termed an illegal abduction. You are currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll head straight into our news analysis segment where I'll be joined by Chijioke Alexander Oji. He's a political, social, national and public affairs analyst. We'll be talking about the situation in the Rivers State House of Assembly where they have begun impeachment proceedings against the state governor. Stay with us. All right, I've been joined via the telephone by Chijioke Alexander Oji. How are you doing today, sir? Happy New Year to you and welcome to the World News at 12.
Yeah, good.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon. I can hear you.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's delve right into the issues. So this morning, it was shocking to quite a number of people that the Rivers State House of Assembly resumed plenary and immediately started impeachment proceedings against the state governor Sim Fubara. They allege that they accuse the governor rather of gross misconduct. They say he withheld funds meant for the Assembly Service Commission. He's refusing to obey the Supreme Court on financial autonomy of the state assembly. He's spending extra on the budget. He demolished the assembly complex. This and a lot of other issues are the reason why the assembly members want him gone. Do they have a point? Or is this an offshoot of the political crisis between himself and the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike?
Thank you again for having me. Good afternoon to Nigerians and to listeners all over the world. First of all, I think this is a very trying time of playing this kind of dangerous games, as a late Prophet Fela would say. It's a dangerous game of selfish interests that have continued to, outplay the interest of the people of the River State, who, in this case, have continued to be the victims in all of these, power-drunken individuals who have become, unappeasable. And why I use the word unappeasable is that from every point and stance, the governor has shown to be somebody who is bendable by the current dictator of the state in the person of Nyesom Wike, who have continued to point the state assembly And the State Assembly have continued to shamelessly showcase to Nigerians and the rest of the world, even in today's world, that an individual can to a sovereign entity that comprises of the representation of variety of a state is not only shameful, but indeed calls to question as to what indeed is the definition of democracy in our own territory called Nigeria today. If we can continue to have these childish games that have become not just of interest to the people of the state, but also to the rest of the world, it is endlessly becoming not just a disturbing scenario, but in fact unpredictable in the sense that it is now best suited to be called a Ponzi game or a Ponzi scheme, where it is no longer about the intellectual display, but a flagrant abuse and display of arrogance to the people of the state. I think the State Assembly have not only continued to show that they lack the knowledge of what the term lawmaking is in a state. And that is why it's expected in most states before individuals are sworn in, they are taken through the rudiments, the brief trainings, and the enlightenment and education on what the term is, lawmaking. It also takes place at the state, at the national level, and also at the local government level with the councillors. What the State Assembly in Rivers State is displaying is not only heartbreaking, but setting the state backwards, especially in the in quest to appease the current dictator of the state. And it's so shameful that this is a state that have prominent individuals such as Rotimi Amechi, the Odilis of this world, the Omeha of this world, and so many individuals that are major political bigwigs, if you want to use that word to define them. Look at somebody like Toyekol, who is there and simply watching his own state being stumbled and destroyed as of take. It is unbearable to even phantom that
Mr. Orji, are you saying
suspension?
You expected these names you have mentioned to intervene in the crisis. You expect Rotimi Amechi, you expect Celestine Omehe and the rest of them to intervene in this particular crisis between Wike and Fubara. When it comes to Rotimi Amechi, some people believe that what is happening between Wike and Fubara is the same thing that happened between Wike and Rotimi Amechi. So the president has intervened. Who better than the president to intervene? And yet it did not seem to solve the problem. Let's be a reminder, this is not the first time the assembly is trying to have him impeached. Just before the state of emergency declaration on the state in March 2025, they also tried to impeach him and his deputy. As at that time, he was also being accused of trying to demolish the assembly complex, of gross misconduct, of not giving the assembly a free rein to make laws for the state. So when we keep blaming Wike for what is going on in the state, what about the fact that these lawmakers and Governor Fubara they've never seemed to have a good rapport since they were all sworn in?
The secret is not far from anybody who has been a political follower of what's happened in Rivers State. Incidentally, I was in Rivers State for 2 years under a private assignment. And I had to be, closely engaged in understanding how this whole dynamics and waste takes place in a state where there is so much amidst poverty. You see, when people judge an environment by the structure they see. Oh, there's a beautiful tall houses in Lagos. So for that same reason, Lagos is said to be a rich state. It's said to have this. The same thing extends to Rivers State, where there is so much internal general IGR, internal generated revenues, and also allocation from the federal capital. And all these things coming to bear where individuals who have never done any form of businesses can afford to change private jets, can afford to build estates, can afford to acquire mind-boggling properties home and abroad, and nobody dares to question them. It's not the first time we're having this, because it is believed that this has been a continued transgression. I use that word to say that it is almost impossible to point to anyone who has led the River State and other similar states that have not been involved in one way or the other. I may not be right to use the word looting because the courts have not found them, but in one way or the other mismanaged, and at the end of the day now sits back to showcase mindless wealth that nobody questions or asks, how did they arrive to getting this wealth? Yes, just like you rightly pointed that before the illegal declared state of emergency, was done, the same state assembly was at loggerheads with the same governor. Why? Because they have pledged open loyalty to the man whom they feel they represent, and not the people. And the situation have themselves seen.
Are you with us, Mr. RJ? Hello, sir. Can you hear me? All right, we'll try to reach Mr. LG one more time. We seem to be having connection issues, but we have been speaking with Mr. Chijoke Alexander Orji on the move by the Rivers State House of Assembly, led by Speaker Martins Amewule, to impeach Governor Sim Fubara. Not just him, but his deputy Ngozi Odu as well. Of course, some Nigerians who are already talking on the issue are blaming FCT Minister Nyesom Wike for these developments, saying he wants to control Rivers State by force. Nyesom Wike has, of course, had a fallout with the state governor Sim Fubara, not just the state governor as well, but quite a number of people within the APC and within the PDP as well. He's been accused of anti-party activities by the PDP. It's a lot of issues actually going on right now, but we'll bring you more updates on this situation as it unfolds. You're currently listening to the World News at 12, right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break and continue with the news analysis segment. Stay tuned. All right, I have been rejoined by my guest, Chijoke Alexander Orji, and we're having a conversation about the impeachment of Governor Sim Fubara. Welcome back to the conversation, sir, and thank you for joining us again.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
We're still talking about the situation in Rivers State. And just like some other Nigerians, you believe that Wike is behind this. If the state governor leaves and the deputy governor goes ahead with him, that leaves us with the Speaker of the House to take charge of the affairs of the state until another election is conducted. But for a state whereby the governor entered in 2023, has Rivers State really enjoyed any modicum of governance with the whole imposition of a sole administrator, the state of emergency declaration, the political crisis up till now? The Rivers State House of Assembly recently accused Governor Fubara of ignoring education in the state. If we look beyond the issue of the political crisis, would you say that they actually have a point, and the governor has been so embroiled in different controversies that he just has been unable to focus on governance?
I think you put it in the right perspective. I think if we want to broaden it, we will say he's just become a toothless bulldog, if we can even refer to him as a bulldog. Because for the first time in the history of governance, we're seeing a man stripped off of all the apparatuses of being in control. First of all, they cancelled the initial sworn-in local government elected officials. and then now was made to conduct fresh elections for new incomers. And at the end of the day, we all know how it has gone and who is in control of the local governments today. Now, the same person who is at the centerpiece as the governor has not had further peace with the continued distraction and the continuous visits to Abuja and Lagos, all in a parley to ensure that he satisfied the power that be. We have seen in clear terms that he is one individual you can say he's just the man holding the pen, because the power of the authority is coming from certain quarters, and they have not gone ahead to even hide it before the people and the rest of the world. So I would say, with the level of destruction that Fubara faces, along with other similar issues is bottled up with the state. And don't forget that Rivers State is one complex state. Well, I say it's a one complex state because it's a state that has so many interests that ought to be taken care of and are being taken care of. And it is one state that is so complex that is almost difficult to govern without having the rest of the people bite into. You can see the current ongoing journey by Wike and his camps. In fact, even visiting the places one thought he would have never thought of, by paying a visit to Azari Dokubo and Co. All in the bid to ensure that he got their support, because all of these entities are like governments within the governments. We have continued to see them brandish arms in the open. We have continued to see them declare their own sovereignty in certain territories. So it is not just a state with a norm of following suit in everything at the center. It's a state with so much divided interests. And it is one state with so much challenges that it would take an individual with full focus and a cool heart and a cool head to be able to govern. And I don't think that Fubara has had such since beginning office since 2023. And it's very unfortunate that same Wike who fought tooth and nail to bring in the same individual he had believed in would fall out with him in less than a year of being in office. And it is also the same individual that is promoting to bring certain individuals that have the same interests. What people should be asking Wike is, must he be the one at the center and also at the state, governing from the federal capital territory and governing at the state level? It mustn't be him, because the state has got to move on with or without Wike. There were other governors that have come and gone before him. And it's a shame that people who should be concerned about the losses, about the wastages, about the abuse of powers in the state are simply in Abuja looking away like nothing happens or is not affecting them directly, because they feel it has not come to their own doorsteps. What they don't realize that when you ignore the current situation now, it's only a matter of time before it gets to their doorstep. And that is where it becomes more problem. And that is where it becomes out of control.
Okay.
Because Wike has now shown to the rest of the world that he is not going to be listening to anybody. It must be done according to his wishes. And this is the same thing he's promoting in Abuja. It's very unfortunate that Rivers people are having to go through this, especially the man at the center, which is Governor Fubara.
Mr. Algie, the first time the president intervened in this situation, we got reports that part of the agreement, part of what the governor agreed to was that he would not contest for a second term. He would defect to the APC, which he has done. Right now, he said the PDP failed to protect him. But if that is actually there and it's binding, and with everything that's been going on, many political analysts do not even expect him to try to contest for his second term. If that is already in the offing, why then try to impeach him? Is that to humiliate and embarrass him finally, to show that Wike is not someone that one can quote and unquote betray and go scot-free?
Well, first of all, Wike needs to realize one thing. The office of the governor in Rivers State does not belong to him and does not belong to anybody. Fubara, as an individual, has all the rights to contest and be in office for a maximum of 2 terms, which is what our constitution provides for. If indeed he has stayed his 2 tenure and tried to exceed, then at that point in time we cannot be saying he's crossing the boundaries. But in this case, why is the president, who is also going for a second term, advising a sitting governor not to go for a second term? Let's not forget that this is meant to be a service to the people and not a service to personal individuals. So it will be wrong if indeed, because I have not seen any signed or acknowledged signed papers by Fubara indicating that he will not go for a second time. We haven't helped him to get to the throne, as he has now become rulers now. Should also understand that he lacks the power to unilaterally impeach the governor, which is what he's trying to do now with the state assembly. It is going to be a failed project, and if they go ahead to succeed with it, with the dictatorial manner they're going now, it is definitely going to be shooting himself on the foot, because the same people he's promoting today will definitely deal with him when the time comes. But let's even speak to the question you've asked. Fubara has his legal entitlements and rights to contest the second-term governorship election if the people of the state see the goodness in the work he's doing. I think one thing that we need to understand is that Fubara has been able to identify with the people, and the people have shown him love and support. If a man could move from the party that brought him into power into another party, and he still has the followers and the support, which is the fear of the man at the center. If he truly feels that he has the power at the center, why not allow Fubara to contest and lose, so that your preferred candidate can come out and emerge? You see, these are the problems we have when people have this sole intent of promoting only their own ideology. It is disturbing and very unacceptable, especially in today's world, that the people of Rivers State will continue to watch this in a drama like a movie, or who will win or who will lose, forgetting that it is their lives that are being trampled upon. It is their civic responsibilities and rights that are being trampled upon. It is also the state resources that are being plundered by certain state actors who are taking advantage of this same situation. So for Fubara to contest a second term, I do not think that Wike has the right to request that he shouldn't, or that the president can take such decisions, in ensuring that he will sign to not contesting for a second term. Bola Ahmed Tinubu faced even more grievous times when he was a governor of Lagos State. Why did he not end there as a third tenure? Why did he have to go for a second time? During the time he was even having a national fight with the then sitting president Olusegun Obasanjo. Why did he not say, okay, after the first tenure, I will not go again? No. What we're saying is, if the people accept him, it is the same people that will vote him. If the people are saying that Fubara should go for a second term, Fubara must go for a second term. With or without Wike, he may emerge to become the winner. But this childish play by the State Assembly is highly unacceptable, and I think the people of Rivers State must rise at this point to speak out loudly and also make their demands to know that these people represent their communities and the places where they come from, and not the sole interest of Wike, which they have continued to shamelessly display without any form of remorse. It is highly unacceptable.
What would you advise the governor? What would you advise the governor to do at this point? He swallowed it when the state of emergency came around. When the president imposed a state of emergency on the state, he didn't fight it. He left the state for 6 months. He came back. He resumed as governor. He joined the APC, and right now there are impeachment proceedings against him. One would say that in this short tenure of his, he has suffered a lot. Would you also advise him to swallow this and just leave the government house for these people, leave the government house for Wike and others? Let them do whatever it is that they want to do, and then just continue his life as a private citizen? Or would you advise him to fight this with everything he's got?
Well, the first thing is that I think the governor erred by losing the initial stance the people were with him. The very first time that these whole problems began, there were supporters even from outside of the state. The late Edwin Clark not only spoke out, but called on the president, the current sitting president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to immediately hands off and allow the people of Rivers State who elected the governor to allow him to govern. But the same Fubara, thinking he was going to appease and make peace, withdrew his sword and swallowed his vomit and followed the same set of individual who advised him to go. Forgetting that the minute you shield, it is a war. You have surrendered. The enemies or whatever the opponents will take advantage of the weakness. and will never stop until they have completely eliminated all form of chances or power to fight back. And that is what they're doing. The first thing they did was to clamp him down. When the current sitting president was the governor of Lagos State, how come Olusegun Obasanjo was not able to impose a state of emergency? Just as the current vice president spoke out and said that in his own acknowledgement, even when he was a sitting governor, the president made effort to impose a state of emergency, but the legal teams were upright to say, no, this is not right. Except there are genuine concerns and reasons. Only at that point in time can the president declare a state of emergency. But in the case of Rivers State, it was done without any fight. Yes, seemed in a gentleman-like manner. Left the seat for 6 months, and we know the rest as history, which came with so much abuses. It was during the same return of SIM that there was a call for a probe of the 6-month administration under the former retired military officer.
Yeah, he refused to surrender himself. He said he's only answerable to the president. But at this point, what can the governor do? What should he do going forward?
The governor is currently in a murky water of people that can be said to be very, very unreliable, especially with the political terrain in Nigeria today. You can have people with you in the afternoon, by evening, they're already in another political party. By early morning, they are already coming back from another political meeting. So it has become a game of, at what point in time do you have the supporters? Is it in the daytime? Is it in the evening? Or is it in the night? Or are you alone? And this is the time now to call on the state individuals, the non-partisan political people whose lives are at stake, to call on to them to understand the entire nitty-gritty of these whole issues. It is believed from the information that are out there that what sparked the current big gathering was the exposition of Fubara, that when he came back, he met about 600 billion in the coffers of the River State account. And of course, the River State people, hearing that amount, will want to know what has happened to the 600 billion. Wike, in one of his open outposts, accused the governor of why should he go ahead to tell the people of the state who owns the money what he met in the coffers of their account. So it means that for him now daring to expose and tell the people of River State what it is, that is the truth, he has now gone against the powerful house that rule. It is time for Fubara to engage with the people of the state and let them know that it is their future that is at stake. Today's country, our country, no longer needs the ostrich game of it doesn't concern you, it doesn't concern me. What matters now is that resources are being plundered, resources are being expanded, and these resources are the common resources of the state. Let him reach out to the people and have the support of the people. With the support of the people, Wike and the House of Assembly and a few other party players in Abuja will be minority. As a matter of fact, the same people of River State can drive all of them to exile. If they feel they have become more powerful, the people of the state will show them where they started from and how big or they felt they were. These were individuals who we will probably term them as nobody a few years ago, but today have become bigger than the state because they feel that they have and weaponize poverty. And in a situation where you weaponize poverty, you have the people at the pocket because all you need to do is to spill the corns on the floor and the people will pick it like chickens. So it is so painful that the people who should be living in affluence are in the midst of poor. And then now we're now having this stupendous display. Look at the current minister of FCT. His continued display of wealth that the people of River State do not question. You need to see the mansion estate that this individual has built, and yet nobody is calling to a probe as to how the sources of funds came to. Now it is now to show the people of River State that he is in control and that the government must serve him and not the people of the state. So it is the time for Fubara to reach out to the people of Rivers State and ensure that the people fight to retain and govern and be part of the governance.
All right.
In fact, as a matter of fact, if I were him, I would go even to the grassroots and put out everything that happens in the government so that the people will know where and manner their money is being spent. In that way, it will be difficult for anybody, including himself, to just launder money or take monies without any form of, tangible things to show for it.
All right. So basically engage with the people and get their full backing and their full support.
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chijoke Alexander Oji, for your analysis on the World News at 12 this afternoon. I do appreciate you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have been listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that Trump has ordered U.S. withdrawal from 66 international organizations. Armed men kill 5 in Benue State. Rivers Assembly begins impeachment proceedings against Governor Fubara. An ICPC continues probe of ex-NMDPRA CEO rejects Dangote's petition withdrawal. And that is a wrap on the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903 FM. Good afternoon to you and thank you for listening. Do stay tuned. Matters will come up at 1:30 p.m.